Do you know who he is now, this captain?
Yes, he's JetBlue Captain Clayton Osmond, a 12-year veteran of the airline and a longtime airline captain that preliminary reporting shows had no signs of sort of the behavior he exhibited on this plane yesterday that's sort of frightened so many passengers and actually forced his co-pilot to lock him out of the cockpit.
Let's back up, Jack, for those who haven't read this story. And of course, I read it 3 times because I'm about to hop on a flight to Las Vegas on Friday. This unnerved me quite a bit. We're usually looking for what we think are suspected terrorists on the plane, but indeed, this was the captain. Tell us what the passengers witnessed and what they did.
So I spoke to several passengers. One who was sitting up front said about 3 hours into the flight, the pilot just sort of burst out unannounced from the cockpit, which is very rare, and usually the cockpit needs to be secured. He was acting very erratic, talking frenetically, drinking a lot of water, gesturing wildly, and eventually he walked back into the cockpit, and the co-pilot then somehow persuaded him to leave again. The captain went into the bathroom, and at that point, another off-duty JetBlue pilot who happened to be on the plane slipped into the cockpit and locked the door. And once the captain realized he had been locked out, he sort of became enraged, was banging on the door, running up and down the aisles, and the passengers eventually had to subdue him. And at one point he was screaming about Iraq and Iran and Afghanistan, saying that they were going to get us and that the plane was going to go down, telling passengers to pray with him. So it was quite a frightening scene for a while there, but passengers acted quickly.
They acted very quickly. Is there any indication that maybe he was on medication that went awry? He had had too much of it? Does it seem to be a medical problem that occurred?
JetBlue is certainly officially calling it a medical situation, said it's an ill crew member, but we have no signs yet of whether or not there was medication involved or what could have caused this. Dave Barger was on television this morning saying that he actually knew this pilot. This pilot is sort of a veteran pilot of JetBlue, and he had no signs of this prior to yesterday. So it's really unclear today, and we're spending today trying to figure out more about what exactly happened.
And Jack, obviously this unnerves everybody so much because of all the people on the plane you're supposed to be able to trust, it's the captain, right? That's who we're not supposed to be worried about when they're locked behind that door. What types of tests and psychological profiling do these captains have to go through? I know this gentleman, this captain, was described as a JetBlue flight standards captain. What is that?
Right. Essentially, yeah, so he was part of a flight standards team at JetBlue. It seems to be, at least, that he reports that on all his social media profiles, and it was a captain of the A320, the Airbus plane that he flies. And essentially, he sets the protocols for inside the cockpit and safety standards and makes sure those protocols are followed. So it's really interesting that he's the one that happened to have this mid-air breakdown. But, you know, essentially the pilots have to be tested for medical examinations each year when they're over 40, which this gentleman was, twice a year. And psychological tests are supposed to be included within those tests, but some pilots say those examinations are often cursory. Pilots are also drug tested as well, but obviously we don't have any sort of information on any of the tests of this specific captain.